So our research is really about the financing and public policy related to drug development. And the urgency of developing a drug or a vaccine just months after you discover a new virus, a new disease, is just totally unprecedented. And it really relies on the accumulation of a lot of scientific knowledge over the past 10, 20 years. And that knowledge base is funded by the public sector, really in the United States by the NIH. So what we've been doing over the years is really studying how the NIH funding creates this knowledge base, this foundation to develop drugs. We know that the NIH contributes to the research underlying every drug that's been approved the last 10 years. And we were able to show pretty quickly that there's a knowledge base underlying the first drug to be approved for COVID, a drug called remdesivir that was developed ultimately by Gilead. And also the technologies that are going into the many different vaccine candidates that are currently in trials. And what's important about this is there's a lot of money involved. We tracked $6.5 billion of NIH money that enabled the discovery of remdesivir to treat COVID. The NIH didn't discover the drug, but without all that knowledge, without all that understanding, companies couldn't have begun to find the drug. So it's enabling. We found $17 billion of research into the different technologies that are currently being used in vaccines. Some of those technologies are fully mature. There's already a robust, mature base of knowledge. Some others are not. Some are still in a much earlier stage, and we don't yet have a full body of knowledge. And those vaccines are still exciting, still might work, but they're more untested, they're more unknown. So there's a whole combination of things being tested. It's also very likely there are going to be other drugs for COVID. There's a lot of experience developing antiviral drugs. And another project we've done is really looking at all the different targets that scientists have turned their attention to describe what is that knowledge base and how much did the government contribute. And the reason the government contribution is important is both for policy, so people understand why funding basic science matters, but it's also going to be important with drug pricing. The public sector is investing much more in these drugs than I think people realize. And it really is something that has to be remembered when you talk about the relative contributions of the companies, which ultimately bring the products to market, but the public sector and the government that makes that possible. So this, with COVID, all the work we've done over the years really becomes very real. There's, a theoretical quality to, studying business and studying the boundary between science and business. But here, policy matters. Policy matters to how you respond. And very importantly, how you respond to the next epidemic. It's important to remember the COVID viruses, were one of 10 viruses identified by the World Health Organization in 2016 as potential pandemic threats. This was not unexpected, but there are 9 others on that list. And it's very important that we be prepared for the other recognized pandemic threats, and learning from the missteps that have happened this time and have happened so badly is very important to get it right next time. So we're continuing to work on these topics. We're continuing to push into policy. Our team, we're in contact with a number of people in government. We're in touch with companies. We're in touch with other researchers to really be sure that the research we do isn't just theoretical in nature, but really impacts how science is practiced and how translational science is practiced. So we're very interested in defining the value that basic research produces. We're beginning to look at how do you measure the value inherent in having a drug on the market. This is a business school after all, and it's very important to put things in business terms. And one can convert the health benefits, the survival benefits, the disability that's avoided. You can express those in what's called QALYs or DALYs, a quality adjusted life year or disability associated life year, and really look at the value that's being created by this partnership of science and of business and government around applying science to really help people. And it's a new frontier for us. It's ultimately where we can bring together all the pieces and see just how much public value is being created by this nexus of science and business.